Now, here's 5-Star Wrestling Podcast Eddie Valiant with Eddie Valiant's Hot Take.
Welcome everybody to an exciting edition of Eddie Valiant's Hot Take. I am your host, your ghost host with the most. That's right, I'm your main man with the master plan. That's right, I am Eddie Valiant here. And it has been quite some time since the last episode of 5-Star Wrestling Podcast, and I do want to apologize for that. I couldn't tell you why we're not doing shows anymore, other than, the fact that, some people just don't want to do it, I guess, per se. I just want to thank Devin and Juicy Josh for going on this journey with me, in a way. We did 32 episodes. I did 7 of Eddie Valiant's Hot Takes. Do I wish things could have been different? Yeah, sure. We probably would have been on episode 39 by now. But yeah, things happen. I don't really hold anybody to blame. I don't know what the future of 5-Star Wrestling Podcast is as far as I'm concerned. Maybe it's on hospice, as Juicy Josh has said on Twitter. Maybe not. Maybe it is dead. Maybe it could be recasted. Who knows? But for right now, it is no more. So I figure I'll come out with these hot takes because, I'm still paying for a service and might as well use up the time that I have left with this service and, release some content, man. My biggest thing and biggest regret with that podcast was that we didn't cover enough indies. Quite frankly, I got sick and tired of covering just WWE, right? And then, unfortunately, we didn't have enough time with AEW, and we never even got to cover an episode of AEW Dynamite on the podcast, which was what was very regretful for me, because it would have been nice to see, the difference in what would have happened, how the podcast would have sounded, just stuff like that. Nothing really too, major over the top. But, yeah, we never got to do AEW Dynamite, and I kind of regret that. And, life goes on, man, But, like I said, I was getting tired of just covering, WWE. I wanted to get more into, a lot more of the indies, like MLW, Major League Wrestling, which is awesome. And I get people's schedules are very different. You know what I mean? Some people have personal lives. Some people have jobs that prevent them from watching everything under the sun. But I was very into it for a while. Then there was a time period where part of those 6 or 7 weeks that we weren't on the air, part of it I was kind of jaded with wrestling for a little bit. I wasn't too impressed with AEW when it first came out, that first episode, and I missed a bunch. I was like, I don't really care, And I think and it's funny because it was the week that AEW was in Boston. That's the week that I was like, I'm not really interested in this anymore. But yeah, it is what it is, man. One thing I want to address, that I don't think we got to address enough of on the podcast was, we kind of stated it. I know in past conversations with Devin, I've stated it, he stated it. Just enjoy the wrestling, enjoy everything that's out there right now. And I have to agree, man. I'm sick and tired of going on Twitter and seeing these keyboard warriors sitting there knocking people for wanting to watch WWE, or, knocking them for not watching AEW or knocking them for watching Impact. Who gives a shit, right? If you don't want to watch WWE, then change the fucking channel. That's all it takes, right? Flip of a switch. Just hit the button, right? Go watch your fucking Office on Netflix. Go watch the Divas thing on fucking E Entertainment, whatever the hell channel it's on now. Go watch Survivor or Paradise Island or whatever the hell it is that whatever you watch. If you don't want to watch WWE Raw, if you don't want to watch NXT, if you don't want to watch SmackDown, then don't fucking watch it. Right? We all make choices. Don't fucking watch. Just change the channel. And here's another thing. Right? If you can't handle somebody not liking somebody, then you need to grow the fuck up. Right? Just because you don't like a wrestler doesn't make you a non-wrestling fan. You may not enjoy their character. You may not enjoy what they do in the ring. You may not, you may say, yeah, all right, they're a great wrestler, but I just can't fucking stand the Daniel Bryan story over and over again regurgitated into my face. The thing is, just whatever. I mean, look at the crowd, right? I love Seth Rollins personally, right? And I'm seeing this crowd just completely turn on him. Seth's not cool. Seth's not cool. And then at Survivor Series, they were all over him. Reminded me of Roman Reigns and reminded of me not liking Roman Reigns at the time and being one of the people that booed, right? And I'm just like, fuck, why do people like Roman Reigns? And then here I am, I like Seth Rollins, and these people are booing Seth Rollins. So it's whatever, right? It's the nature of the beast. But let's get into what today's episode is all about, because, quite frankly, it was Survivor Series and WarGames weekend. That's right. Woo woo. And it was a wild fucking weekend of wrestling, let me tell you. The guys that I feel bad for, right, is the NXT guys. I mean, these guys, some of them were putting themselves through hell at NXT WarGames. You know who I'm talking about, right? You got the women's WarGames match. You got the men's WarGames match. And then most of the people in the women's and the men's were at Survivor Series representing NXT. Practically all of them. On one end, you've got Undisputed Era, like every member inside of the WarGames match. And then comes Survivor Series, every single one of them is fighting, their individual matches, like Adam Cole's defending the title against Pete Dunne, after taking one hell of a bump into into the tables. It's just unfriggin' real, right? So I want to get into it. And at the time, I didn't watch the pre-show because I missed it. So I had no idea that Mia Yim got injured. Whatever. So they replaced her with Dakota Kai. And the whole time I'm like, Dakota Kai is on the team? And I'm thinking to myself, there is going to be some way that Dakota Kai somehow turns on every single person. It's going to happen, right? You got to feel that storyline was so obvious it was there, right? She got rejected. She got replaced by Mia Yim. She's got to be pissed, right? Juicy Josh called it. We were talking about it. He said it. And then all of a sudden, okay, so it looks like, all right, Rhea Ripley's down there. Candice LeRae is down in the ring. Okay, yeah, whatever, things are good, Baszler's team's out there. And then all of a sudden it comes time for Dakota Kai to come out, right? Because now she's the next person. She's up. It's her turn. She comes out, and I'm like, oh, there it is. It's coming. It's coming, right? She turns around, and she beats the crap out of Tegan Nox. Now, personally, I thought the turn was going to happen inside the cage, right? I didn't think, it would happen at the entrance ramp, top near the Titantron. I didn't think that's where it would happen. But man, I was pleasantly surprised. I was like, wow, what the hell's going to happen now? So now Dakota Kai, William Regal comes out, kicks her out. It's done right now. So Tegan Nox is injured. She's out. And then Shayna Baszler just laughing her ass off in that cage, waiting for them to be like, okay, the 3 minutes is up. And at that point, with both people done, you should have just released her. But anyway, I get it. You got to wait. So then it was a 4-on-2 situation. And I liked it. I thought, the way it ended, I thought was really good. I mean, I liked it, She handcuffed her, Rhea Ripley handcuffs herself to Shayna Baszler, and, so on and so forth. The rest is history. So, very good. Great way to start off the pay-per-view. Loved it. Then we get into the triple threat match, which was to determine the number one contender for the NXT Championship. At Survivor Series, it was Pete Dunne, Damian Priest, and Killian Dane all in one match. And I loved Damian Priest's nod to the outsiders. Thought that was cool. Honestly, I was thinking to myself, out of everybody there, I wanted either Pete Dunne or Damian Priest to win. And as more as the match went on, I was like, you know what? I think I changed my mind. I think I'm more leaning towards, Pete Dunne and Damian Priest more than Killian Dane. But in the end, Pete Dunne won. I was happy. I was like, yeah, Pete Dunne's been around. He deserves a shot at Adam Cole. Why not? He's not going to win at Survivor Series anyways. That's what was going through my head. Great match. A lot of great spots. Good stuff overall. Very good stuff. Then we get Finn Balor and Matt Riddle. And I was half impressed. I liked the match overall. I loved the way they told the story. Definitely loved it. Thought it could have been a little more. I've seen Matt Riddle in some great battles, right? Roderick Strong, at NXT 25. Seen him in other great battles. But, this one was good. It was good. Great to see Finn back in action. Great to see this new edge that Finn has. It's really cool. It's dark. And it's kind of the I don't give a shit about anybody kind of thing. So I dig it. I can dig it. Right? Finn Balor, no surprise there. You knew Finn was going to win. The one moment that I was geeking out over, at first I was like, I don't ever remember Matt Riddle hitting anybody with a spear, right? And in my head, I'm not thinking oh, he's going to make fun of Goldberg or he's going to steal Goldberg's moves. And then all of a sudden, he goes to look at him, looks like he's just going to deliver a suplex. And then I was like, oh, man, he's going to hit the jackhammer, isn't he? And sure enough, he hits the fucking jackhammer. Unbelievable. I love that moment. That was my favorite moment of that match. I was kind of like, oh, yes, this has to be happening soon. Riddle versus Goldberg. It's got to be happening. So then, we move on. That's done. We move on, and it's the men's WarGames match. And at first, I was thinking to myself, are they really going to do what they just did with the women? You know what I mean? Is there going to be another disadvantage? I mean, I know they said that Ciampa had said that, he might show up, he might not show up, we don't know. And the whole time I'm wondering, okay, who's the fourth guy, right? And then, everybody gets out. Adam Cole's in the ring. Everybody's out there. And it's time to reveal the fourth member. So all of a sudden, nobody comes out. The clock's gone out. Nobody's come out. You're like, okay, there's nobody there, right? Nobody's coming out. And unfortunately, so little disclaimer. I didn't see this match right away. And I didn't have enough time to watch it on Sunday before Survivor Series happened. So I saw Survivor Series and it got spoiled for me. So I knew he was coming up, but I'm trying to act like I'm surprised here. Anyway, so you're like sitting there waiting, like, okay, no, I don't think anybody's coming out. And even Undisputed Era is like, I don't think anybody's coming out, right? I don't think anybody is. And then all of a sudden, there he is, the old music, the old Titantron, the NXT T-shirt. You're like, holy shit, this is fucking awesome. It's Kevin Owens, right? KO show, baby. And he made quite the difference in that match. Let me say. And you know what? And I gotta be honest, man. I loved that match. I mean, Keith Lee, Dijakovic, those guys shined, right? Undisputed Era, obviously proving why these guys are the top guys in NXT. Let's be honest here. There's no question about that. But this was really a showcase for guys like Lee and Dijakovic. I gotta be honest. We all know what Ciampa can do, right? We all saw it in the match. We all know what he does. We all know what Undisputed Era can do. It was time to see on the grandest stage what Dijakovic and Keith Lee can do, and those guys delivered every step of the way. Loved it. Best match of the night, bar none. Just awesome. So there you go, right? There's WarGames. So now you're thinking, these poor guys, man, they're all heading to Survivor Series, which is the very next night. And immediately we start finding out who the teams are for the traditional 5-on-5 matches. And let's get right to it for the women. For team. So we knew going into the pay-per-view that Charlotte Flair, Natalya, Asuka, Kairi Sane, and Sarah Logan were representing SmackDown. No, excuse me, we're representing Raw. Monday Night Raw. We knew that Sasha Banks, Carmella, Dana Brooke, Lacey Evans, and Nikki Cross were representing SmackDown. We found out on Facebook Live right after WarGames. Again, I didn't watch it. I didn't watch WarGames live, so I didn't know. And I tried not to look at spoilers too much. But we found out that Team NXT was Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Candice LeRae, Io Shirai, and Toni freaking Storm. I was wondering, where has Toni Storm been? My prayers were answered the very next night. Thank you very much. So we got that. And then we move right along in the 5-on-5 men's match. SmackDown was Reigns, Strowman, Corbin, Mustafa Ali, Shorty G. Raw was Rollins, McIntyre, Owens, Orton, and Ricochet. And NXT was Tommaso Ciampa, Damian Priest, Matt Riddle, Keith Lee, and Walter, right? But we're going to get into that in just a little bit because obviously I want to go over the whole night and kind of do this in chronological order. So the very first match on the pre-show, obviously Ziggler and Rude. They win that 10-man interbrand tag team battle royal, which I had no idea was happening. And it was okay. I don't like the fact that they eliminated almost every single NXT team before they even got anywhere close to the end. Whatever. Great matchup right afterwards. Lio Rush, Akira Tozawa, Kalisto. Those guys proving why the cruiserweights bring it every time. No need to discuss that. Obviously, Lio Rush retains. We knew that was going to happen. Funny how now they call it the NXT Cruiserweight Championship. But anyways, so the last match on the pre-show was the Viking Raiders taking on the New Day, taking on the Undisputed Era, the Champions Triple Threat match for the tag teams. And I don't know if I'm necessarily surprised that the Viking Raiders won. I kind of had a feeling a little bit. I thought it could have either gone New Day or them. I just feel like they weren't going to have Undisputed Era win that one. I don't know why. Would have loved to have seen that. But got to give, Raw wins and SmackDown and NXT all had wins, to kind of even it up heading into the pay-per-view. So, no figure. Viking Raiders win. I loved it. These guys showcased what they had. Viking Raiders impressed. Crowd was unimpressive. Whatever. Moving on, in the very first match of the pay-per-view, is the 5-on-5-on-5 Women's Survivor Series Triple Threat Elimination match, and it was disappointing. I'm sorry, that was complete shite. You find something redeemable about that. I mean, first of all, if you blinked or turned away real quick to grab maybe a potato chip to dip in whatever dips, whether it's buffalo dip, bean dip, salsa dip, whatever kind of dip you dip your chip into, you may have missed that Io Shirai and Candice LeRae were both injured. Right? Because I certainly turned to dip my chip, and I come back, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute, how the fuck did two people from NXT just get eliminated? Where the fuck did that happen? Right? Well, I'm pleasantly surprised to find out they were injured in some move, so now it's a 5-on-5-on-3. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? They're doing the same situation from the night before. Really, WWE? Way to be creative. And the eliminations were just weird. Some of it, there's so many botches. The fact that Carmella thought she was great was just terrible. I didn't enjoy the match till they got to the very end, to be honest. Let's be honest. And it was just kind of weird, the whole thing with Asuka and Charlotte. Asuka throws the green mist in Charlotte's face, and then she just walks away. She's like, fuck it, I don't even want to be here anyways. Right? Because my tag team partner just got eliminated. So it was just weird, though. That match was just weird. Very bad. Moving on, and we got an impressive match. Roderick Strong, the North American champion, taking on the United States champion, AJ Styles. Also taking on the Intercontinental champion, Shinsuke Nakamura. Right? And he's the Intercontinental champion. And that new IC belt, I guess it'll grow on me eventually, but I guess we have no choice. We got to deal with the new IC title. Whatever the fuck. But, yeah, so that match happened, and that was a great match. Roddy Strong, man, really proves why he's awesome, and he belongs in the WWE. I can't remember what they call him, the purveyor of, I don't know, the doctor of backbreakers, whatever it is. He was great, and I loved how he stole that win. Perfect, right? You're a heel. It's what you do. Undisputed Era, whatever. And he stole it. AJ technically, drops Nakamura with the Styles Clash, and he gets tossed right out of the ring, and Strong just steals the win. Bravo. And then we had, right after that, what might have been my match of the night, and probably will be. I'll tell you later. But Adam Cole versus Pete Dunne. Loved the sunset. The Panama Surprise, whatever the hell you want to call it. Panama Sunrise on the apron. Are you kidding me? That was just awesome. And both men obviously showing, the after effects of what had happened the night before. Great. They sold it. Perfect. The Fiend versus Daniel Bryan, I thought was actually better than what I thought it was going to be. I kind of liked how they're kind of treating the Fiend like the Undertaker. I like how Daniel would do certain things and he'd just sit up like the Undertaker did. I'm enjoying it. It's cool. Whatever. Fiend retains, obviously. Mandible Claw. Pin. It's over. Then you had the 5-on-5-on-5 Survivor Series men's match. And right off the bat, Walter gets fucking eliminated. Like, I wanted to see Walter slap the shit out of everybody in that ring. And I think he was the very first elimination, which was just very, 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 very pathetic. Yeah, he's the very first elimination. He gets pinned by Drew McIntyre. Just made no sense. And then, whatever. There was a lot of pins that just kind of, you're like, okay, whatever. I liked Randy Orton getting pinned by Matt Riddle, though. I thought that was good. I thought Corbin costing one of his teammates was kind of stupid, but it definitely could lead up to something potentially in the future. We'll see. I enjoyed that match. I want to say when it was just Keith Lee, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns. Keith Lee shined once again like never before. Watch that pay-per-view. Watch that match. Watch the end of the match. Keith Lee shines. Bravo for Keith Lee. Great weekend. Let's make him a champ or something, whether it's an NXT or whatever. The following match was the No Holds Barred match. Brock Lesnar defending the WWE Championship against Rey Mysterio. And there's not an ounce of me that didn't sit there and say, man, I really wish Rey Mysterio would win the title. I did say that. And I said it on Twitter. I want to say I thought his Doink the Clown inspired mask. I think it was an ode to Doink the Clown. Not sure. But it was kind of cool. Whatever. So Clown Ray taking on Brock. And I loved Dominic getting involved. Them both hitting Brock with a low blow. Then the stereo 619s. And then each one hitting the 5-star frog splash. And I was freaking out. Like, oh my God. Ray's going to be the WWE champion. Just watch. And then Brock, of course, in Brock fashion, kicks out, delivers a German suplex to Dominic, catches Rey Mysterio in midair, throws the F5, match is over, see you later, done. And he's still champion, people. We might not see him until the Royal Rumble, so WWE title is taking a break. And then moving on, we had Shayna Baszler versus Becky Lynch versus Bayley, and I thought this could have been a whole lot better. Ronda Rousey, Charlotte, and Becky was a lot more exciting. But, big win for Shayna. She got to tap out Bayley. I like how they didn't make her tap Becky out. Because could you see the man tapping out to Shayna Baszler? The submission magician? Yeah, I don't know. But nonetheless, that was a pretty decent match. I will give it that much. Decent match. So you're probably all wondering, well, what are your top matches of each night, right? Well, I'm going to give it to you right now. So some of you may disagree with this. My NXT WarGames at number 4 is going to be Finn Balor versus Matt Riddle. Sorry. I know some of you are probably going to be like, oh, what the hell? Why is that number 4? Like I said, listen to what I said earlier. You'll figure it out. Number 3, I'm going with the women's 5-on-5. 5-on-5. The women's WarGames match at number 3. I'm going Pete Dunne versus Damian Priest versus Killian Dane, number 2. And I'm going the men's WarGames match at number 1. That's my order. Eat it or leave it. I don't really care. So now we're going to go to Survivor Series, and I'm going to do my top 5 Survivor Series matches for you guys. All right, so at number 5, I got Shayna Baszler versus Becky Lynch versus Bayley. At number 4, I have The Fiend versus Daniel Bryan. At number 3, I have Lio Rush versus Tozawa versus Kalisto. At number 2, I've got Strong versus Styles versus Nakamura. And at number 1, Adam Cole versus Pete Dunne. NXT is the overall winner of this whole entire weekend. You better believe it. And great showing. Triple H once again proving why he is a genius, my friends. So now that we're done talking about that, I want to get into another issue. So last night, XWA, a local promotion out of West Warwick, Rhode Island, held their annual resolution. Unfortunately, none of us, whether the 5-star guys, whether it be our friends, none of us were able to attend. Things got moved around. Some of us had to work, our jobs, and we couldn't make this. But they held their event. But there was a little bit of controversy. So a guy claiming to be Dustin Rhodes' manager went on XWA's fan page. Now, this is a page where the owner of the company can post news that fans can read and figure out when they're having events, who's going to be at events, so on and so forth. Fans can also post on the page as long as it's appropriate. And so he posts this message because Dustin Rhodes was supposed to be there, but then it was found out that Dustin Rhodes couldn't go there. And we weren't given a reason, but this guy decided to go on the Facebook page, and this is what he posted. So Scott Albright writes, I'm calling BS right now. This is fake news. I am Dustin Rhodes' manager. I dealt with Mike of XWA for an appearance last month. Per our contract, due to the damage to the building, as he claimed he was able to get out of the contract. Mike then asked about doing tonight's date. I responded and never heard back from Mike of XWA until this past week. At this point, it was too late in the game as Dustin has his family flying in for the holidays, including his daughter. Dustin was in Indianapolis on Wednesday. I was with him. He was not supposed to appear at the show tonight. There was no contract. Mike, do not put your lack of correspondence as Dustin's fault. This is absurd, right? So naturally, this is out there, and now all of us are wondering, like, holy crap, are you serious? Like, is Mike going to respond to this? And sure enough, Mike responded, and he wrote, let me see, I'm trying to find it right now for you guys. All right, so he writes, anyone that knows me knows I always keep my professionalism. So apologies to any offended by me not doing that right now. He writes to Scott, don't you dare come on my page, speak to my fans with your version when mine can be backed up by emails. Don't you dare paint a picture that I am somehow a shady promoter and that this booking was a sham. Shall we talk about how I informed you on 10/12, which was, I believe, a week before the original date? That the new date was 11/24. Should we talk about how you responded by saying now that the date changed, Dustin would charge or would like to charge an extra $2,000? Then I messaged you last week to confirm flights, and you asked me again when the date was, and I responded it's still this Sunday because it was the only date we can do in 2019. To which you replied you were calling him right now, only to follow up by saying he couldn't anymore because he had to be in Texas with his daughter, hence a family situation. I could have shot back on that emailing inquiry how that can be when I gave you the new date back on 10/12. At no time whatsoever did you inform us that we needed to sign yet another contract after signing that first one. So don't lie and say there was no contract. That, my friend, is the BS. He goes on and on about some of this other stuff, about charging $50 right off the plane in case you were hungry. Just other stuff. But basically, he's got some stuff. But I liked one of the things he says, and he goes on to say, I, sir, do not have to defend myself to anyone. My 20 years and impeccable reputation speaks for itself. I have never screwed my fans over and often go without to make sure they have a great experience. I'm the guy that books Matt Hardy 20 hours before a show and takes the loss because of an injury cancellation to make sure that my fans didn't feel cheated. I'm the guy that has the support and stamp of approval from Ric Flair, RVD, Rey Mysterio, among others, as well as a public posting of support from Mick freaking Foley. I'm adding the freaking part, but Mick Foley. I am not some run-of-the-mill shady promoter you tried to paint. They know it. Our fans know it. So a stamp of approval from you is not needed. may want to reconsider your business name because prestige, you are not. Good for you, Mike. That's all I'm going to say. Good for him. You know, promoters are always going to be shady. There's always going to be shady deals, but good on him for saving all the emails and for quickly denouncing this and letting the fans know exactly what happened, because now the fans are going to understand that sometimes dealing with professional wrestlers isn't always as easy, you know, especially guys that, you know, can still wrestle even though it's been way past their prime. Dustin is definitely one of those guys who has overcome the odds. I mean, the guy still wrestles like he's 30, so I don't know how that happens. But anyways, that's all I wanted to say on that. From what I heard, it was a great event. They had Dan Maff. They had Ace Austin. They had a lot of guys. Richard Holiday, if you're a fan of MLW or Impact Wrestling, you know who those names are. And it looked like a great night, so good for them, you know. They're a great organization, little indie organization out of West Warwick, Rhode Island, and good for them. Big stuff on the horizon. I'm going to try to do this all the time. Like I said, like who you like. If you don't like watching WWE, then don't fucking watch it. Watch AEW and shut the fuck up. And that's about it. That's all I'm going to say. So thank you for joining me on this special edition of Eddie Valiant's Hot Take.